Captain Cale Drake had seen many things in his life, but nothing could have prepared him for the sight before him now. The Stellar Citadel, a massive alien spaceship, hung above the Earth's atmosphere like a shining crystal in the sky. Its surface glimmered with colors that seemed impossible to describe: purple, gold, and a soft blue that seemed alive. People on the ground stared, frozen in awe. Military forces had surrounded the landing zone, but no one moved forward. They were all waiting for Cale. Cale adjusted the strap of his bag and took a deep breath. He had been chosen by the United Earth Council for this mission because of his courage and experience with unknown worlds. Yet standing before the alien fleet, he felt the weight of history pressing down on him. One wrong move could mean war. One wrong word could end everything humanity had achieved. A voice spoke inside his communicator, calm but serious. "Captain Drake, the princesses are awaiting your arrival. They insist on meeting you alone." Cale nodded, even though no one could see him. "Understood. I'll go." The doors of the Citadel opened slowly. A glowing ramp extended to Earth's surface. Cale stepped onto it. The metal beneath his boots hummed softly like it recognized him. He felt a thrill mixed with fear. The ramp curved upward into the ship, and as he walked, the city below seemed smaller, like a toy. Inside the ship, the air smelled faintly of something sweet and metallic. The walls were smooth and glowed softly, illuminating the path ahead. Cale felt like he had stepped into a dream. At the end of the corridor, two figures waited. They were the princesses of the Auralis Empire, Princess Lyra and Princess Selene. Both were tall, with graceful forms that moved like water. Their eyes were unlike anything Cale had ever seen. Lyra's eyes shone with gold, calm and thoughtful, while Selene's sparkled with a deep green, sharp and alert. They wore robes that glimmered like starlight, yet they seemed alive, moving as if the fabric itself had consciousness. "Welcome, Captain Drake," Lyra said, her voice melodic and calm. "We have heard much about humans. Your bravery is known, but your mind, that is something our records cannot describe." Selene stepped forward, her gaze sharp. "Yes, we are curious. You are said to be clever, but cleverness can lead to danger if it is not tempered. Tell us, Captain, why should we trust you?" Cale swallowed hard. His training kicked in and he spoke clearly. "I come in peace, princesses. My mission is to learn, to share, and to protect both our people. I understand the responsibility I carry." Lyra inclined her head. "Good. You understand the importance of choice, Captain. That is why we have invited you, to make a choice that no human has ever faced before." Cale's heart raced. "What kind of choice?" Selene smiled faintly, almost like a predator testing its prey. "You will see. But first you must understand who we are. We are not rulers like your kings or presidents. We are heirs to an empire older than your records. Our decisions shape entire star systems, and now one decision you make may affect everything." Lyra extended her hand. "Come, Captain. Walk with us. We will show you the Stellar Citadel and prepare you for the test." Cale followed them through the corridors, marveling at the technology. The walls changed colors as they moved, responding to their presence. Holographic maps of distant planets floated in the air, spinning slowly, casting a gentle glow on Cale's face. Aliens of various forms walked silently, performing tasks with precision, but none seemed to notice him. They reached a large observation deck. Through the glass, Cale could see Earth below, small and fragile-looking. The Citadel moved with a grace that made it seem alive, orbiting the planet with perfect precision. Lyra spoke again. "From here you can see what we protect. Our empire is vast, but our power is fragile without wisdom. That is why we seek new perspectives. You, Captain, are an experiment of sorts, a test not for you, but for us." Cale looked at her, puzzled. "A test?" Selene laughed softly, a sound like wind over glass. "Yes, a test. We have rules and we follow them strictly. But humans, you do not follow rules. You create them. You bend them. And in that bending lies the possibility of greatness or disaster." Cale felt a shiver run down his spine. He had faced alien attacks, hostile worlds, and dangerous diplomacy, but this was different. Here nothing was about weapons or strength. It was about mind, morality, and courage. Lyra gestured to a large chamber behind her. "This is where your first challenge begins. We will show you simulations of scenarios we have faced. You will make choices, Captain, and each choice will reveal something about your species and about yourself." Cale stepped forward, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. He had trained for high-risk situations, but this was uncharted territory. "I'm ready," he said. The chamber lit up and a holographic image of a distant planet appeared. Cities burned and figures ran for safety. Lyra's voice echoed softly. "This is a colony of our people under attack. You must decide how to respond. You may save many lives, but the choice may come at a cost. Consider carefully." Kale studied the image. The holograms moved realistically, almost like real life. He could see panic in the faces of the aliens, fear in their eyes. A small part of him wanted to panic too, but he focused. He thought of Earth, of the people depending on him. He thought of humanity's strength, creativity, courage, and the ability to act against impossible odds. Celine's voice broke his thoughts. "Remember, Captain, there is no single correct answer, only consequences. Choose wisely." Kale nodded. He felt the weight of their gaze, the unspoken expectation. Then he noticed something in the simulation, a pattern the Oralis had overlooked. There was a path that could save the colony without losing resources. It would require bold action, rapid decision-making, and trust in his instincts. He took a deep breath. "I see a way to save them," he said. "It's risky, but if we act now, we can do it without heavy losses." Lyra and Celine exchanged a glance. Neither spoke. Kale knew they were evaluating him, measuring his confidence and his morality. He issued his commands within the simulation, guiding holographic forces with precision. Slowly the city stabilized, fires subsided, and the citizens were safe. The chamber dimmed and the holograms disappeared. Lyra's eyes shone with admiration. "Remarkable. You think beyond the boundaries we set. That is human nature, is it not? To find solutions we never imagined." Celine, however, frowned slightly. "Unpredictable, dangerous. You bend rules in ways that could have destroyed everything." Kale looked between them. "I didn't break your rules. I just found a new way." Lyra smiled softly. "And that is why you are here. To remind us that strength is not just power or technology. Strength can be thought, courage, and compassion." Celine's green eyes narrowed, but even she could not hide a hint of respect. "Perhaps. But remember, human, this is only the beginning. The choices you make will not only affect you, but the fate of entire worlds." Kyle felt a thrill run through him. Fear was there, but excitement was stronger. He realized that this mission was not about diplomacy or negotiation alone. It was about showing what humans could achieve in ways the universe had never seen before. Lyra extended her hand again. "Rest now, Captain. Tomorrow the real challenge begins. The fate of many may depend on your next decision." Kyle took her hand, feeling the warmth of her guidance. He nodded. "I will be ready." As he left the chamber to prepare for the night, Kale looked out at Earth below. He knew the journey ahead would test him like never before, but for the first time he felt a deep sense of purpose. Humanity had a chance to shine among the stars, and he was at the forefront of that light. The princesses watched him leave, each with their own thoughts. Lyra admired his courage and clarity. Celine doubted him, yet could not ignore his ingenuity. Both knew one thing for certain. This human was unlike any being they had ever encountered. And the choices he would make next could change everything. The morning aboard the stellar citadel began with soft lights shimmering along the corridors. Captain Kale Drake awoke in his quarters, the window above revealing the swirling colors of the gas giant below. The planet's storms painted the sky with ribbons of violet and gold. He rubbed his eyes, trying to shake the mix of awe and nerves. Today was the day of the first real test. A soft chime echoed through his room. A holographic panel lit up, showing Princess Lyra. "Good morning, Captain. Are you prepared for today's challenge?" Kale straightened. "I am ready, Princess." "Good," she replied. "The simulation is unlike anything you have faced. Remember, your choices will reveal not only your skill but your character. Princess Celine will be there as well. Do not underestimate her scrutiny." A moment later, the door slid open, and Kale followed the princesses into the training chamber, a vast room glowing with holographic grids and displays. The floor was smooth, reflective like water, and the walls projected distant stars, giving the feeling of floating in space. Lyra stepped forward. "Captain, this is the test of resolve. You will face a scenario where there seems to be no right answer. The universe often presents such situations. How you act will determine the course of the Oralis Empire, and possibly the fate of your planet." Celine's gaze sharpened. The test is simple in words but impossible in execution. You must make a decision between two outcomes. One is to save a colony under siege. The other to secure technology that could advance Earth's position in the galaxy. Choose wisely, Captain, for each choice carries consequences. Kale studied the holograms. The first scenario showed a bustling alien colony under attack. Fire and explosions flickered across the city as alien raiders struck swiftly. Civilians ran for shelter, while defenders struggled to hold the perimeter. He could feel their fear, almost as if the holograms carried real emotion. The second scenario revealed a laboratory holding advanced technology. This device, a compact core of energy and knowledge, could elevate humanity's capabilities in years rather than decades. But the lab was on the other side of the planet, far from the colony. Securing it meant leaving the citizens to face the raiders alone. Lyra's voice was calm. Choose, Captain. You may save lives or you may gain knowledge. Both are important, but only one path seems possible. Celine's green eyes glinted sharply. Or perhaps neither is possible. That is the test. To find a solution when all seem blocked. Kyle felt a familiar pulse of tension. He could follow the obvious paths, but they both felt limiting. Humans were unpredictable, capable of creativity that even advanced alien civilizations sometimes failed to anticipate. He closed his eyes, focusing. There was a pattern in the simulation, a subtle flaw in the attacker's strategy. The raiders were fast, but they followed predictable lines. The lab, while isolated, was heavily guarded. Kyle realized there was a third path, one that no one in the Oralis Empire had expected. He could negotiate with the attackers, tricking them into surrendering part of their forces while coordinating a rescue of the colony. Then, using clever diversions, he could reach the lab and secure the technology without sacrificing lives. He opened his eyes, determination settling in his chest. There is another way, he said. I can save the colony and secure the technology. It will require careful timing, trust, and coordination. Celine's lips curved into a small, almost imperceptible frown. Lyra, however, smiled, a look of admiration in her golden eyes. Kale took control of the simulation, issuing commands with precision. He guided defenders to strategic positions, sent messages to the raiders pretending to be a negotiator from another faction, and created a diversion using holographic projections. The raiders, confused and divided, began to falter. At the same time, Kale directed a small elite team to infiltrate the lab. They moved swiftly, bypassing defenses, and retrieved the core technology. Every step required rapid decisions, adjustments, and improvisation. His human mind raced, calculating outcomes while balancing risk and morality. Minutes felt like hours. The simulation intensified, alarms blaring, explosions echoing through the chamber. Kyle stayed focused, relying on instincts that had been honed over years of human unpredictability. Slowly, the situation stabilized. The colony was safe and the technology secured. The holograms faded and silence filled the room. The princesses watched him carefully. Lyra's voice broke the quiet. Remarkable, Captain. You have done what we considered impossible. You have found a solution beyond our understanding. This is the human mind. Celine's green eyes narrowed. Unpredictable, reckless, you ignored the constraints and created your own rules. You could have failed entirely. Kale met her gaze steadily. And yet I did not fail. I used the strengths my species has. Creativity, adaptability, and moral judgment. The choice was not simply between two paths. There was another option, one that honored both lives and knowledge. Lyra stepped closer, placing a hand gently on the holographic console. That is why you are here, Captain. To remind us that strength is not only measured by power or control. It is also measured by the courage to act wisely, even when rules seem absolute. Celine remained silent, though her expression softened just slightly. Kale could sense her conflict. She respected strength, but it had to be controlled. Humans, in her eyes, were chaotic. Lyra continued. This test was only the beginning. Tomorrow the challenge will become more complex. You will face situations that test not just your mind but your heart, and your choices will ripple beyond this room, beyond this ship, beyond the stars themselves. Kale nodded, understanding the weight of her words. He felt a sense of purpose growing within him. The simulation had shown him the kind of challenges he would face among the stars. Humanity had a role to play, one that required courage, intelligence, and moral clarity. Celine finally spoke. Do not think, human, that this is over. There are forces in the Oralis Empire and beyond that will not welcome your way of thinking. You have made an impression, yes, but impressions can be dangerous. Kale studied her carefully. I understand, Princess. I do not seek to disrupt your empire. I only seek to find solutions that save lives and build understanding. That is my choice, Lyra smiled softly. And that is why you will go far, Captain Drake. Remember this feeling, the knowledge that your actions can change outcomes in ways others cannot see. Hold on to it, for it will guide you through darkness and doubt. The princesses escorted Kale back to his quarters. As he walked, he realized that the stellar citadel itself seemed to hum with expectation, as if the ship recognized the significance of his actions. Even the crew, though silent, glanced at him with curiosity and awe. Once in his quarters, Kale looked out at the stars, thinking of Earth, of the people who had trusted him, and of the choices he had made. He felt a deep connection to both worlds, the home he protected and the vast universe that awaited him. Lyra's final words echoed in his mind. Your choices define you, Captain. And sometimes the unthinkable is the only path to greatness. Kale smiled faintly. For the first time, he understood the weight of his mission. It was not just a test of skill, it was a test of humanity itself. And he was ready for whatever came next. Outside, the Citadel drifted silently through space, carrying within it 2 alien princesses, a human captain, and the promise that the choices of one man could echo across the galaxy. The stellar Citadel orbited silently above the gas giant, its glowing hull reflecting the swirling storms below. Captain Kale Drake had grown accustomed to the strange beauty of the alien ship, yet he could feel tension in the air. The events of the simulation had earned him admiration and suspicion. Within the Oralis Empire, not everyone welcomed a human capable of thinking beyond their rigid ways. Lyra had been kind and encouraging, praising his ingenuity and courage. Celine, on the other hand, had watched every move with sharp eyes, skeptical of Kale's unpredictability. Their opinions would matter, but so would the judgments of the Oralis High Council, a group of ancient beings whose decisions shaped entire star systems. Kale was summoned to the council chamber. The room was enormous, circular, and illuminated by floating spheres of light. Around the chamber sat the council members, each a striking alien form unlike anything on Earth. Some had translucent skin that shimmered with internal light. Others had multiple limbs, each moving independently, yet all were seated in perfect harmony. Their eyes turned toward Kale, studying him with an intensity he had never felt before. Lyra and Celine flanked him as he entered. Lyra whispered, "Remember, Captain, your actions speak louder than your words. Show them the value of your species." Celine's voice was colder but not unkind. "And do not let them see weakness. Humans are fragile in their ways, but fragile does not mean useless. You must prove it," Kyle nodded. He straightened his back, trying to radiate the confidence he had felt in the simulation. The council spoke first in a melodic, harmonic language. Lyra translated. "They question your choice in the simulation. Many of our advisors believe it was reckless. They ask why you did not follow the expected path and choose only one outcome." Kyle took a deep breath. "I did not see only one path. Humans have the ability to think creatively and find solutions where none seem possible. I chose a path that saved lives and secured knowledge because both were important. I acted with strategy and compassion." A council member with 3 eyes, all glowing pale blue, leaned forward. "You speak boldly for a human. Yet boldness is not always wisdom. How do we know your solution will work in the real world?" Outside a simulation, Kale met all 3 eyes without hesitation. "Because it relies not on brute force but on adaptability. It depends on thinking, cooperation, and understanding of both allies and opponents. Those are not just human qualities, they are universal strengths. I would apply the same principles in reality." Celine's eyes narrowed. "And yet human, your approach is dangerous. You rely on unpredictability. One miscalculation could bring ruin." Kyle nodded respectfully. "Yes, Princess Celine. Risk is always present, but doing nothing or following a single rigid path can also bring disaster. Humans do not fear risk, we analyze it, adapt, and act. That is how we survive and how we thrive." The council murmured among themselves, exchanging alien sounds that Kale could not understand. Lyra whispered, "They are debating your fate. Some admire your mind, others fear it." Then the council's leader, an enormous figure with skin like polished stone and eyes that reflected distant galaxies, spoke. Captain Cale Drake, your actions in the simulation have drawn attention. Some see potential, others see chaos. Why should we entrust our colonies or the knowledge of our empire to one human? Cale's mind raced. He had to answer honestly, yet with clarity. Because humans are not constrained by fear of tradition or hierarchy. We see possibilities even when they are hidden. And when we act with courage and care, we can achieve outcomes no one else imagines. I do not ask for blind trust, I ask for the chance to prove it. A silence fell over the chamber. Then Lyra spoke softly. He speaks the truth. I have witnessed his choices firsthand. Captain Drake's creativity and moral clarity are rare, even among the most advanced beings. Celine's gaze remained sharp, though less hostile than before. And yet I remain cautious. We cannot rely on luck. But perhaps humans offer something new. That is worth observing. The council nodded slowly. The leader spoke again. Very well. Captain Drake, you are granted temporary status as an Oralis advisor. You will observe, learn, and act under guidance. Your choices will continue to be tested. Fail and you will face consequences. Succeed, and you may prove that your species is worthy of partnership. Cale bowed deeply. I understand and I accept the responsibility. Lyra's golden eyes shone with pride. This is only the beginning, Captain. Tomorrow your role will expand. You will witness the workings of our empire, and your decisions will shape more than simulations. They will affect real lives. Celine remained silent, but her eyes held something almost like respect. Cale could sense that her judgment would weigh heavily in the days to come. Over the next hours, Cale walked the Citadel, observing the Empire in action. He saw planets receiving aid after disasters, trade routes carefully maintained, and fleets navigating complex political tensions. He witnessed disputes resolved through negotiation rather than violence, though he also saw the subtle undercurrents of fear, greed, and ambition that threatened to unravel order. He began to understand the delicate balance of the Oralis Empire. It was vast, powerful, and yet fragile. Even a single unpredictable element like a human could tip the scales. Lyra joined him in the observation deck. Do you see, Captain? The Empire is strong, but it is held together by knowledge, trust, and careful planning. Your perspective, human perspective, can reveal weaknesses we cannot perceive. That is why your role matters, Cale nodded. I understand, Princess, and I see the dangers as well. One wrong decision, even with good intentions, could cause disaster. Lyra smiled gently. That is why your choices must always consider both morality and strategy. And why we need you. Humans can do what we cannot. See multiple possibilities and act with courage. Later, Celine approached him. Her green eyes glinted sharply, yet there was no malice. Captain, remember this. Your unpredictability is both your strength and your weakness. Others will seek to manipulate it. Watch carefully, trust selectively. The Empire is full of ambition and not all will welcome your ideas. Cale met her gaze calmly. I will remember, Princess, and I will act with care. Celine studied him for a moment, then nodded. We shall see if humans are as capable as you claim. For now, survive, learn, and continue to prove your worth. As night fell aboard the Citadel, Cale returned to his quarters, the weight of the day pressing on him. The political storm he had stepped into was unlike anything he had faced. Battles could be fought with weapons, but this was a war of ideas, strategy, and trust, and humans were not accustomed to the rigid rules of alien politics. He realized the challenge ahead would not be about defeating enemies with strength alone. It would be about outthinking them, using creativity, empathy, and courage, and for the first time, he felt the true importance of his species. Lyra and Celine, from their respective chambers, watched the stars. Lyra felt hope that this human could bridge the gap between their civilizations. Celine felt caution, knowing that while Cale's mind was remarkable, it could disrupt centuries of carefully maintained order. Both knew one truth. The decisions of one human could ripple through the galaxy in ways no one could predict. Cale sat by the observation window, staring at the distant stars, thinking of Earth and of the countless worlds beyond. He understood that his journey was only beginning. He would need every ounce of human ingenuity, every lesson in strategy, and every moment of courage to navigate the storm of alien politics that lay ahead. For the first time, he felt the weight of his species on his shoulders, not as a burden but as a challenge. Humanity had a chance to shine among the stars, and he would lead the way. And somewhere deep within the citadel, the Empire itself seemed to sense it. A human had arrived, and with him came change, unpredictable, dangerous, and full of possibility. The stellar citadel drifted silently above the gas giant, but beneath the calm surface, tension ran like fire. Intelligence reports had reached Princess Lyra and Princess Selene. The Varkari, a rival alien race, were mobilizing at the edge of the Oralis territory. They were fierce warriors, known for their cunning and their desire to dominate weaker civilizations. Captain Cale Drake was summoned immediately. He entered the war room, a vast chamber filled with holographic star maps and floating fleet diagrams. Lyra and Selene were already there, speaking quietly to the commanders. Lyra looked at Cale. The Varkari see your presence among us as a sign of weakness. They believe humans are unpredictable and therefore dangerous. We must act carefully but decisively. Selene's green eyes were sharp. Careful is good, but the Varkari do not wait. We must strike before they gather more strength. And human, your way of thinking may be the key to outsmarting them. Kyle studied the holographic map. The Varkari fleet was strong and organized, but predictable in their patterns. He could see potential weak points, but attacking directly would be dangerous. Traditional Oralis tactics relied on overwhelming force and strict coordination. Cale, however, thought differently. I have an idea, Cale said. We don't have to meet them head-on. We can use diversion, misdirection, and coordination to split their forces. We can make them fight each other's mistakes instead of ours. Selene raised an eyebrow. You would gamble with lives? Cale shook his head. Not gamble, strategize. Every move is calculated. We avoid unnecessary losses and turn their strengths against them. It's unconventional, but it works because it's unexpected. Lyra smiled. That is why we brought you here, Captain. To show that human ingenuity can complement Oralis power. Prepare your plan. Cale spent hours in the war room analyzing data, running simulations, and refining the strategy. He worked closely with the Oralis commanders, adjusting traditional tactics with human flexibility. By nightfall, a plan had emerged. It was risky, yes, but it relied on speed, deception, and clever use of terrain and space. The next day, the fleet moved. Cale took a command station near the front lines, monitoring the engagement. As the Varkari fleet approached, they encountered unexpected obstacles. Holographic decoys projected false targets. Small teams executed feints, drawing enemy ships into traps. Cale issued commands swiftly, adjusting to the changing situation. Divert the Central Strike Team to Quadrant 3. Deploy holograms at Alpha and Delta points. Maintain communications, but keep your movements unpredictable. The battle began in earnest. Explosions of energy lit the darkness of space, ships maneuvering like dancers in a deadly performance. Cale's plan unfolded perfectly. The Varkari, confused by the illusions and misdirection, began to split their fleet. Isolated groups were vulnerable to precise strikes by the Oralis forces. Lyra watched from the observation deck, her golden eyes wide with admiration. He is doing it. The human strategy is working beyond our expectations. Selene remained tense, though a flicker of respect crossed her face. Yes, it is. Effective. But we must remain cautious. One misstep could undo everything. Cale continued to coordinate the battle, thinking 3 steps ahead. He anticipated the Varkari's reactions, using their aggression against them. Small Oralis teams struck quickly, disabling key enemy ships while avoiding large-scale destruction. Civilians on nearby colonies remained safe, thanks to careful planning and Cale's insistence on minimizing collateral damage. Hours passed, and the tide of the battle shifted. The Varkari, once confident, now found themselves trapped in a series of calculated maneuvers. Their fleet was fractured, unable to recover from the unexpected strategy. Finally, their flagship signaled surrender. The chamber erupted in quiet celebration. Lyra approached Cale, her eyes shining. Captain Drake, you have done what no one expected. The Varkari have been defeated without needless loss. Your strategy has saved lives and strengthened the Empire. Selene, still wary but clearly impressed, spoke. I underestimated you, human. Your thinking. It is dangerous, yes, but brilliant. Do not mistake me. I do not fully trust it, but I cannot deny its effectiveness. Cale nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and pride. Thank you, Princess Selene, and thank you, Princess Lyra. I could not have done this alone. The fleet's skill, coordination, and willingness to adapt made this possible. It is not just humans who can achieve greatness, it is collaboration. Lyra smiled warmly. Exactly, Captain. That is why humans are remarkable. You show courage, ingenuity, and moral judgment, and you inspire others to follow. You remind us that strength is not only power, it is also thought and heart. Even Celine's expression softened slightly. Perhaps there is value in human unpredictability, when guided correctly. But remember, Captain, not all who see you will be so forgiving. The Empire has many who envy success, and your victories may invite challenges. Kyle understood the warning. Every choice he made now would ripple through the galaxy. His victories would inspire, yes, but they could also provoke jealousy, fear, and ambition. He would need to remain vigilant. That evening, Kale walked the corridors of the Citadel, reflecting on the battle. The crew and officers who passed him glanced with respect and curiosity. He could feel their trust growing, even among beings who had never encountered a human before. Lyra joined him on the observation deck, the gas giant glowing below. You have shown that humans can face impossible odds and still succeed. That is why we brought you here, not to command our fleets, but to remind us that creativity, courage, and morality are strengths the galaxy often forgets. Kale looked out at the swirling storms, the colors reflecting in his eyes. I feel that now, Princess. Humanity may be small compared to the stars, but we are capable of more than anyone expects. We can survive, adapt, and inspire. That is why I fight. Not for glory, but for the chance to show what is possible. Celine appeared silently, her green eyes fixed on him. You speak boldly, human, and you act boldly. But be aware, every step forward is watched. The Empire is full of those who seek control, not understanding. You will face opposition, sometimes from within your own allies. Kale nodded, understanding. I will be careful, Princess. But I will not abandon my principles. Humanity survives by standing for what is right, even when the odds are against us. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture of both guidance and reassurance. And that is why you will continue to succeed. Your choices matter, not just to Earth but to the stars. You remind us that strength lies not only in power, but in the courage to think, to act, and to hope. The Citadel moved silently above the gas giant, carrying Captain Kale Drake and the two alien princesses through the stars. The shadow of war had passed for now, but the challenges ahead were only beginning. Kale knew that future battles, both of strategy and of politics, awaited him. Yet he also knew something deeper, that humans, with their ingenuity and heart, could face the impossible and turn it into triumph. In the quiet of the observation deck, Kyle looked at the distant galaxies, feeling both small and limitless. The Varkari were defeated, but countless other challenges awaited. He understood that his role in the Oralis Empire was just beginning, and that his next choices could change the course of the galaxy. Lyra and Celine watched him from either side, each contemplating the implications. Lyra's hope was bright, seeing the human as a bridge to a new era of understanding. Celine's caution remained, aware that unpredictability could bring both success and danger. But one truth was clear. Captain Kale Drake had shown the galaxy the unthinkable. And now every being aboard the stellar Citadel would watch his next move with equal parts fear, respect, and anticipation. The stellar Citadel floated above the gas giant in calm orbit, but the air inside was charged with anticipation. Captain Kale Drake had faced simulations, political intrigue, and even a real battle against the Varkari. Yet the challenge he now faced was unlike any other. This choice would not be tested in simulations or measured in victories. This choice would define the future of both humanity and the Oralis Empire. Lyra and Celine awaited him in the observation chamber. Their expressions were a mixture of hope, curiosity, and caution. Lyra's golden eyes glimmered with warmth, while Celine's green eyes held a sharp, critical edge. They had both watched Kale grow in skill, courage, and wisdom. And now the final decision rested with him. Lyra spoke first. Captain, the Empire is at a crossroads. The war with the Varkari has ended, but the ripple of consequences continues. Your actions have proven humanity's potential, yet the ultimate question remains. Where do you stand? Will you join the Empire and share your mind at our highest council, or return to your world and guide your own people? Celine's voice was quieter but firm. The decision is yours alone. Both paths have value. One offers power, influence, and the chance to shape the stars. The other honors your origins, your home, and your people. Choose wisely, human. Your choice will echo across generations. Kale took a deep breath. He had expected this moment, yet it carried a weight heavier than any battle. Power was tempting. Sitting beside the Auralis Council, learning their secrets, guiding the Empire, he could have achieved greatness beyond imagination. Yet his heart pulled him in a different direction. He thought of Earth, of its people, of the struggles, the potential, and the possibilities. Humanity was small compared to the stars, yet capable of brilliance. His mind replayed every moment aboard the Citadel, the simulation, the Council, the battle against the Varkari. He realized the truth. Humans had something the Auralis did not: adaptability, creativity, and the courage to act when others hesitated. And that gift belonged to his people, not just to him. Lyra's voice broke through his thoughts. Captain, have you decided? Kale looked at her and Celine, seeing both hope and doubt reflected in their eyes. I have, he said firmly. I cannot accept a seat on your council. I cannot remain here, even with all the knowledge and power offered. My place is with my people on Earth. They must learn, grow, and rise, not as followers, but as equals in the galaxy. Lyra's golden eyes widened, and a warm smile spread across her face. You choose your people over power. That is a remarkable, Captain. Few beings, alien or human, would make such a choice. You honor the essence of humanity itself. Celine's expression tightened, a mixture of frustration and respect. Unthinkable. And yet, admirable. You risked leaving immense opportunity behind. That is not weakness, human. That is courage in its purest form, Kyle nodded. I do not fear the future, Princess. Humanity can achieve greatness. We will learn from our mistakes, rise from our failures, and grow stronger. That is why I must return. The knowledge, the experience, and the strategies I have gained here are not just for me. They are for all of us. Lyra reached out and placed her hand gently on his shoulder. Then we will ensure your return is honored, Captain Drake. You have proven that humans are not only capable, but extraordinary. Your choice strengthens both our worlds, even if it seems small to some. Celine stepped closer, her eyes softened. Do not think this is the end, human. The Empire will watch your progress. Your people will benefit from your wisdom. And the consequences of your choices will shape the stars. You carry a responsibility heavier than most can imagine. Kyle smiled faintly. I understand, Princess, and I accept it. Preparations began immediately. The Citadel's crew arranged transport, ensuring Kale's return to Earth would be swift and safe. Lyra and Selene walked him to the shuttle bay where a sleek ship waited, its hull glowing softly. As he stepped aboard, Kyle turned to face the princesses one last time. Thank you for believing in humans, for showing me that courage, wisdom, and choice can be recognized across the stars. I will not forget this. Lyra's smile was radiant. Nor will we, Captain. You have changed the way we see your species. Your actions will inspire generations of Auralis and humans alike. Celine nodded, her gaze lingering. Go, return to your people. And remember, the galaxy watches human. But so does hope. The shuttle lifted off, leaving the stellar citadel behind. Kale felt a strange mixture of relief and anticipation. He had faced impossible odds, navigated alien politics, and survived battles that seemed hopeless. Now he carried something even more valuable: knowledge, experience, and the conviction that humans could shape the universe without surrendering their identity. As Earth grew larger through the viewport, Kale reflected on everything he had learned. Strategy, diplomacy, courage, and morality had guided him here. Yet the most important lesson was clear. True strength did not come from power alone. It came from heart, ingenuity, and the willingness to choose what was right, even when it seemed impossible. He thought of the colonies he had saved in the simulation, the fleets he had guided in battle, and the trust he had earned from beings who had never encountered a human before. And he smiled, knowing that Earth would benefit from all of it. Humanity had taken a step forward, guided by one human's courage and wisdom. When the shuttle finally touched down on Earth, Kale was greeted by officials, scientists, and military personnel. But he was not the same man who had left. He carried within him the lessons of the Citadel, the strategies of alien warfare, and the understanding that humans could rise to challenges beyond imagination. Lyra and Celine's words echoed in his mind. The unthinkable is the only path to greatness. And he had chosen it. Not for glory, not for power, but for the future of his people. The Earth sky stretched above him, calm and bright. Kale stepped out of the shuttle, feeling the weight of responsibility settle comfortably on his shoulders. He knew the road ahead would be difficult. Humans had yet to prove themselves among the stars, but he also knew something else. Humanity could achieve the extraordinary, because they had something no empire could copy: the courage to act, the ability to think differently, and the heart to make the right choice, even when it was the hardest. Back aboard the stellar citadel, Lyra and Celine watched the shuttle disappear into the distance. Lyra's eyes shone with hope. He has chosen wisely. Humanity has a chance now, a real chance. Celine's expression remained cautious but softer than before. Yes, he has made the unthinkable choice. Let us hope the humans are ready to follow his example. And so Captain Kel Drake returned to Earth, carrying with him the knowledge, experience, and inspiration that would shape the future. His journey among the stars had changed him, but more importantly, it had changed the way 2 alien princesses, and perhaps an entire galaxy, saw humanity. The unthinkable had been chosen, and the universe would never be the same.